Hey there, my name's Curtis Lucas and you're watching Empire Building. And yes, I'm back again. But truthfully, I've never really left. I've been quite active on my own Discord with my Patreon supporters. But over the last year and a half, I've been working very hard on building my dream, the apartment building. For those that have been following my channel from the very beginning, you may recall that I once said that the reason why I was investing in these mining stocks was to raise enough capital that I could use to get into real estate investing in multifamily, but I wanted to build it myself. Obviously, things didn't go according to plan, but it did teach me, it forced me to learn other methods of raising capital and structuring deals such that I could still get it done, even with substantially less capital available to me. So yeah, the empire building continues, even in the bear markets. As I've always said, bear markets are for building, and they require a little bit more discipline. I do plan on sharing a video illustrating exactly what I've been doing over with that, and maybe even some regular updates. If that's something you're interested in, let me know down in the comments. But for this video, what I wanted to portray, and pardon my, I'm recovering from a bit of a cold, so my voice is a little bit off. But I wanted to talk about the recent price action in the miners. I'm recording this just before United States Thanksgiving, so markets are closed tomorrow, probably around the time you're watching this or shortly thereafter. But over the last couple of months, things in the mining space has been pretty frustrating. And I have heard a lot of the people that are members of my Discord express that frustration. And I know a lot of people that are invested in these mining stocks today weren't around at the very beginning of the last bull run. Some of you have been, but many haven't. And so they weren't really around to experience the frustrations of those early investors like myself. So I wanted to share what that experience was like, because what we're witnessing today is very similar to what that was like back in late 2020. In fact, the very first video I ever did covering mining stocks, comparing Marathon and Riot blockchain, I highlighted this fact. So let's take a brief step back in time to my younger self, and let's see how I explained it back then. If you're already invested in either of these two companies, and you already know how volatile, erratic, and sometimes downright frustrating they can be. These stocks are loaded with speculators and day traders, which make them a hell of a ride to be on, and sometimes their movement doesn't make a lot of sense. Take Mara over the last month, for example. Mara went from $3.20 all the way down to $2.10, a decrease of 34%, while during the same time frame, Bitcoin jumped 20%. I'm pointing this out because you need to understand that these are highly speculative stocks that tend to misbehave. But as long as you know that, then you can use it to your advantage. And yes, today, as we've been witnessing, these stocks continue to misbehave. It wasn't that long ago. We were riding high, Marathon, Riot approaching $20 and surpassing it slightly. While Bitcoin was substantially lower than it is right now. Yet these stocks are trading at half that price, and even worse for some of the smaller ones. Which leads us to the big burning question, why? And the answer is quite simple. Nearly every single one of these stocks or these mining companies are raising capital by selling shares at the market. Yes, we all know this by now, but it's what it does to us psychologically during this period of time when we're witnessing altcoins surge in value, Bitcoin continuing to edge higher and higher day by day, yet these stocks continue to feel like they're being held back. And to be honest, I wish I could blame it entirely on these at the market offerings, but I can also say that during the last run, even with these market offerings open and active, the price could still surge rather rapidly. So trying to time it, or maybe even waiting until the capital raise is complete, you could still end up purchasing, rebuying at a much higher price. But also we could see a retracement on Bitcoin. Really anything can happen, and nobody, and certainly not myself included, is going to be able to predict the path that this is going to take. You can try, but speaking from experience, it doesn't always go the way you think.
Whatever happens next, it's not going to go down the way you think it is.
Having said all of that, it is reasonable to assume that with Bitcoin's recent price action, that there could be a pullback. It is an action that would make a lot of sense, but it's not necessarily the case. We are in a very different market today than we were back in 2020. The story is different, and it's one that I have a lot of confidence in, especially in the long term. So my strategy personally going forward is to rely on that story playing out and let this market do what it does best. Sooner or later, these mining stocks will begin to perform the way we've come to know and love. It just requires that we have to put up with a little bit more irrational behavior in the interim. But there's one more point that I wanted to highlight here, and that's the necessity of these capital raises. Yes, they're incredibly dilutive, but I think a lot of what we've seen in the price action, which is a little bit shocking, in fact, was that a lot of the declines hasn't even really been a result of them selling those shares. Mara, for example, as of the as of the publishing of their last quarterly report, they hadn't sold a single share under that offering. Yet the price action suggests a lot of additional selling. So the explanation for that gets a little difficult. And then the more recent price action appears to suggest that there's a lot less of that selling pressure. So it's possible that most of that could have been just jitters from existing stockholders, people selling in anticipation, wanting to wait out those capital raises, and maybe those people have sold out already. But the actual impact of the selling of these shares is impossible to predict. But like I said, unfortunately necessary. And I'm going to explain why. As I mentioned, in the last cycle, this exact same thing played out. Stocks were trading at a much lower level than where they are right now, so the capital raises were proportionately less. But as a result, they took those funds, obviously invested into large miner purchases, which took the next couple of years to actually be effectively deployed. But now we're dealing with far more mature companies that are starting from a much more developed position. To illustrate this point, I'm going to focus in on Riot platforms. I'm doing this because Riot has a very clear growth path ahead of it. We know it has its two primary sites, the Rockdale facility, which I visited personally, and the Corsicana facility, not that far away. which is substantially larger than the Rockdale, at least when it's fully developed. Rockdale being 700 megawatts, I believe, and the Corsicana facility at a staggering 1 gigawatt. For those following along at home, that is 1 billion watts. Yes, count them, 3 commas.
Tres comas. You know what that means in Spanish?
Now, Riot recently announced a purchase of 33,280 micro BT miners, the brand new ones, for a total of $162.9 million, which would add 7.6 exahash to their total operational hash rate. And in addition, gave them the option to purchase an additional 66,560 at the same price under the same terms. Now, of course, that is exactly twice as much as this purchase that they just announced. If they completely fulfill that order, that would require another $325.8 million to complete that order, or $488.7 million in total, including the initial order. Obviously, they don't have that cash on hand. And if they want to continue their growth strategy, they need this money. Now, a lot of people have argued that, hey, look, it's at these prices, they should wait until the price rises before they dilute. Yes, that's true. And you know what? They will, at least for portions of it. The fact of the matter is, these at-the-market offerings can be open for a very long period of time. The last one wasn't even fully executed on. So that's another unknown. But I do believe that this one probably will, by the time it expires, be fully executed on. And the reason for that is quite simple. Like I mentioned, almost $500 million required to complete and fulfill the entire order that Riot has available to it. But here's the thing. If you have a look at the consumption that the power consumption of each one of these miners, and divide that into the capacity that they have at that Corsicana facility, this entire order of nearly 100,000 miners basically amounts to 50% of the Corsicana total capacity. So even at these prices, it would take another $500 million to completely build out that site. Now, these are approximations, but you get the idea of what these numbers are going to start to look like. Riot has already announced that if they completely expand that capacity by filling out that existing available order with micro BT, their total hash rate would expand to 35.4 exahash. But if they completely expand out that site, that would add an additional 45 exahash to their existing hash rate at the Rockdale facility, bringing their total up to 57.5 approximately exahash per second. These are the staggering numbers that we're going to have to start getting used to hearing during this next bull run, which who knows how long this one could last. This is something I've been thinking about a great deal, and this one is gonna be different. Having said that, I do have a profit-taking strategy. It is very different from last time around. I'll get into that more as time goes on. Yes, I'm gonna keep making videos. It might not be as regular as they once were during the last run. That was during COVID, and basically I had nothing else to do but make videos. But obviously now things have changed. But if you're interested, I would like to do some more off-the-cuff videos, maybe while I'm out in the field, and share a little bit what I'm doing out there as well. That is really what the channel was supposed to be about, is following my own journey to building an empire, a successful business. And that's what I've been doing. It's just not always crypto related. And it's been quite a ride, and I am dying to share that here as well. I want to thank everyone for watching my videos and giving it the thumbs up. It's done a lot to help me grow this channel. It's going to take a lot for me to get it back up and running on a regular basis, but I am committed to doing that. I do miss doing these videos on a regular basis, so I am going to try and put something out more regularly, slightly different format, not usually here in the studio, because let's face it, time is quite tight. And while I enjoy doing these types of videos that are a little bit more polished, with a little bit more extra editing that's required, I'm just gotta be honest, I'm not gonna have that kind of time. But I can still share my thoughts as things are happening and let you have a glimpse into what the rest of my activities are like and follow along on the story, on this journey, because like I said, that's what this channel was always supposed to be about. Thanks for watching. Now let's get back to empire building.